No, that's what it's all about. And, I mentioned public funding, but at the end of the day, the bulk of our funding is philanthropic. And so I would encourage your listeners to look at an organization like Father Joe's Villages, who is effective in what it's doing, that helps those not only who are on the streets, but the community at large.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.
The San Diego Union Tribune and Retirement Strategies Group present the Union Tribune Community Spotlight Show with your host, Drew Schlossberg.
I'm Drew Schlossberg of the San Diego Union Tribune, and we are back with Deacon Jim Vargas, President and CEO of Father Joe's Villages. We were just recapping the great successes that have transpired over the last few years, and of course recently with the building of going to be some wonderful permanent housing for the homeless, and then the start of a 14-story building that'll be finished, the summer in 2022? Is that right?
2022 should be the first quarter of 2022. Okay, this summer, though, we should have Benson Place up,
right.
And that's in the South Bay area. The one that's at the beginning of 2022. That's going to be called St. Teresa of Calcutta Villa.
Interesting.
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
I want to hear.
Because I have mentioned that Judy and Roger Benson were the benefactors of Benson Place. Well, Barbara and Terry Castor, who were longtime San Diegans here and just very, very warm and philanthropic in this community. They've done a lot of good. They contributed, and their family contributed $10 million towards the St. Teresa of Calcutta Villa, and he chose the name. He knew Mother Teresa. And he traveled with her and had a fondness for her, and so he wanted the building named after her. I thought that was very, very sweet, actually. Yeah.
Very impressive, to say the least, on that. Well, that's pretty exciting.
And very appropriate because she was for the poor.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we all should be, for that matter, to be honest with you. The question, we were just chatting right before break on this, obviously housing is first and foremost, if we can't get these folks out of the street and unsheltered areas, that's a tough nut here. But once they are, you got them sheltered, the services you provide are widespread.
They make all the difference in the world, Drew. They absolutely do. And it's a full array, right? Whether it's the health services, we have a fully qualified health center, and within the center we have a unique relationship actually, and we have for many, many years with UCSD Medical School.
Right.
And they wanted to have a dual residency in psychiatry and family practice. They needed a clinical site. We said, hey, pick us, right?
Right.
And they've developed great doctors with this dual focus in psychiatry and family practice, and it's been of great benefit to our clients, to our patients, because the reality is that a lot of those who we serve have some level of mental health issues.
Right, exactly.
And so the fact that a physician can evaluate them from both the mental side and as far as the physical side is very important. And then within the center, we have a dental clinic.
Right.
Our dentists spend a lot of time on restorative dentistry, and it's not surprising. Where does malnutrition show kind of almost immediately is in the teeth, right?
Absolutely.
And we have a wall of smiles, and I encourage people to come and tour our village to see what we do in general. But when you come across that wall of smiles, it's very impressive because you see those who have little to no teeth and those who have had their dentistry restored. And it makes all the difference in the world, not just as it relates to self-esteem, but practically, of course, where does digestion start? In the mouth, obviously.
Right.
But also, who's going to get that job, Drew? Who's going to get that housing? Is it the person who can present themselves well with a full smile or not, right? So that's why that's an important element as well. And then, of course, it's a substance use disorder clinic within our center. And that's so very critical because a lot of individuals are mired with that type of situation. So that's our center. But then in addition to that, there's our employment center. Drew, it's not rocket science that there's a direct correlation between employment, income, and housing and being able to be self-sufficient, right? And so we focus on that. This past year, 200 individuals have graduated and have gone through our employment center. And of those 200 individuals, amongst them, they had 265 jobs. So can you imagine? A number of them have multiple job offers. And in this town, a lot of times you need to work more than one job because it's so expensive to live here, right? So that's an important element as well. And, of course, for the children, the Therapeutic Child Care Center, and you know it well, therapeutic childcare center makes all the difference in the world. These kids who are developmentally delayed, they come into our center of social workers and teachers and psychologists, and by the time they're of school age especially, they're at peer level so that they can keep up. Otherwise, if they don't, what happens? They become frustrated, and they're the future dropouts and the future adults who are on the streets. And so we break that cycle for them, and that's what it's all about. So it all comes together, to your point. All these comprehensive services come together holistically in order to make a difference.
Right. We're chatting with Deacon Jim Vargas. He's the president and CEO of Father Joe's Villages. You know, and to the point is there's some empirical evidence behind this. I mean, some of it is just common sense is if you provide these services, they're going to be doing X, Y, and Z, and then we'll keep them off the streets. But when you see what this means, most importantly for the individual themselves, but especially for the region. You know, you and I have talked about this before many times, and it sort of gets me going on this when I hear, and I'm sure you hear about it all the time. These people don't want services. These people want to be on the street. They want to be homeless, okay? That's about as far from the truth as possible.
That's what we find as well. I mean, will you run across some people who say that? Yeah, we run across some of those.
Right,
as well.
but not 8,100.
No, that's not the vast majority. Not at all. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
These people want to be off the streets. They want help. Right. A lot of them are frightened, though. And those individuals we find who initially may say, hey, you know what? No, thank you. I'd rather stay here on the street.
Yeah, right.
When you work with them, and it takes time.
They have to get your trust, right?
Exactly right. Our outreach workers are out there constantly, right, reaching out, speaking to the same individuals who feel that way. And in time, we've always found that when you build that trust factor,
right.
because a lot of them have had bad experience, they've been abused, a lot of things in their lives, right? And so suddenly, oh, yeah, okay, well, let me go into this health center, all right, because I need some. And you could start gaining that trust, and then there's the employment aspect and so forth. And before you know it, you're helping them off the streets. And so we find a lot of success in doing that, even with those individuals who initially tell you, oh, no, I'm okay here on the street. I mean, you know, we hear all these statistics about people who have been on the streets, go into housing, and fall back onto the streets. I have to tell you that we have a 97% rate of people remaining in housing who we've placed into permanent supportive housing. 97% of them, and we track it over time, remain there. The difference is the services that we provide to make sure that they retain that housing. That makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. Talk about the Castor family.
Oh, yeah. Great. Terry I've known, Terry and Barbara I've known for many, many years. Yeah. And so I got to speaking to them, to him. She had just passed, actually, Barbara, God rest her soul. But I got to speaking to him well over a year ago on our initiative, Turning the Key initiative. And the more and more we spoke, the more excited he got about it. And he has a heart, such a heart, especially for those who are vulnerable and the poor. And I have to tell you, he and I had moments, just the two of us together, where there were tears in each of our eyes, because as he heard of the difference that he could be making, it just touched him tremendously. And he wants to help those who are vulnerable, those who are poor and on the streets. And he spoke at our groundbreaking. I'm so happy that he did. And he made that point. And the other point he made was that he wanted his gift also hopefully to inspire others who are able to really step up and make a difference in the lives of individuals who need help. So he's a great person. I have the honor to be able to know him.
You know, and when these people make those types of game-changing, life-changing, culture-changing gifts on this, I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. And sometimes you always wonder, do you realize how important this was to do? And a lot of them are doing it because it's the right thing to do and all that business. But it is game-changing. It is life-changing. It is culture-changing. And you've been the beneficiary of that. Yeah. And your constituents, more importantly, in this area.
Right. No, it's absolutely critical. I mean, we can't do what we do without the help of the community. I mean, without doubt. Right, I mean, and so we do get public funding. We do get federal, state, and city funding as well, but the vast majority of funding come from corporate and family foundations as well as just individuals. Right. And so, your listeners have always been very kind to us, and I would encourage, neighbor.org. It's as easy as that. Going on to neighbor.org, and you see all the many services we provide and how you can be of assistance. I mean, even giving up going to the movies once a month, which I mean, I'm about to say it's about $15, but I think it's even more than that now. And so, I mean, but if you do that just once a month, right, you're depriving yourself of a movie. That's true, all right?
Yeah, right.
But even that, the difference that $15 on a monthly basis, I mean, you make it a recurring payment, right? And a lot of times you do that and you don't even miss it, really, after a while. But think of the power of that. That's $180 that you've provided. That is making the difference in the lives of an individual, because kids can be cared for at our therapeutic child care center with that money, or you could the meals that we could serve with that money. So we served over 1,100,000 meals last year.
And I think what the key to that is that you can quantify with that $180. This is what you just provided. You provided X amount of meals, or you provided this type of child care, or you provided this many books, and it's quantifiable. Jim Vargas, it is always a pleasure seeing you. Why don't we do this? Next time you're in, why don't you bring in someone who has benefited from the services?
Absolutely.
How's
I'll
that
do
sound?
that. That sounds great.
And a couple of the folks, maybe youth if possible, and so forth. And I always love to see the ones who have benefited from the great services of some of our venerable organizations.
Right.
Congratulations to you on this wonderful accomplishments with some of these new buildings, and we'll look forward to having you back on.
I always look forward to being here. Thanks, man.
Deacon Jim Vargas is the president and CEO of another edition of the Community Spotlight Show here on Calcutta.
Thank you for listening to a podcast from Cloudcast Media, the digital media home for leading local brands. When it comes to amplifying your brand, a Cloudcast-sponsored show offers unbeatable value. Learn more at cloudcast.us.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.
Welcome to Cloudcast 180, the 3-minute lightning round with changemakers here in San Diego. We're here with Ed Heiner, 20-year Navy SEAL, best-selling author, and education entrepreneur. Ed, welcome to the Cloudcast 180.
Thanks for having me.
Your book was called First Fast Fearless, so let's hit this fast and fearlessly. Real quick, you created a program to help change lives of high school students around the country. It's called SEALpreneurship. Tell our audience what it's all about.
Well, it's about leading yourself. Getting a PhD in me, I teach kids how to take care of themselves and lead themselves first, and how to be their own entrepreneur, intrapreneur, if you will.
Is it something you think public education is lacking, this concept of self-leadership?
Absolutely. It's a mindset that kids don't get. My son doesn't get it in his school. The kids don't get it. It's something that, we're educating them, but to be mentally tough and be able to take charge of themselves and accountable for themselves is very unique.
Okay. I've seen an overview of your curriculum, 23 evolutions, and you have a 23-minute podcast series. So what's up with 23?
Chromosomes, right? It's all in all of us. We're all the same. 99.9% of everybody in this world is the same. And we use those chromosomes, 23 pairs, which was one of the concepts we teach as swim buddies, never be alone. Mm-hmm. Always work with someone else, collaborate, and be out there.
Boy, that's a lesson for life for sure. Ed, you were in charge of basic and advanced training for the U.S. Navy SEALs, and I mentioned you're a 20-year SEAL. Tell our audience the greatest lesson from the SEALs that have changed you forever.
Probably in the back of a helicopter one night in Iraq before I was getting ready to fly into an Al-Qaeda target, it dawned on me that when a pilot said, you have this many souls on board, it dawned on me that the opposite of fear is love. It's not else. I don't fight for what I hate in front of me. I fight for what's beside me, behind me, that I love.
Wow, it's a powerful concept. Wow. You've talked a lot about the blue-collar scholar as a concept. Fascinating. Tell our audience, what is the blue-collar scholar as it relates to your SEALpreneurship program?
It's a mental concept where people take control. Don't outsource their life. Look, we're going to have people that are in white coats, suits and ties, doctors, PhDs. That's fine. Listen to that and learn your information from them. But eventually, you got to be that mechanic in your own life. You got to turn the wrench. This is happening. So basically, take control of your own life. Use what you can use from other people. Discard it. What you can't, and make that your own. Leadership is something that you do. It's you do with people, not to them. And one of the best forms of leadership I learned in the back of that helicopter is called MOM.
Ed,
focus on mission, others, me.
Mission, others, me. Ed, thank you for being here. This has been the Cloudcast 180. We hit it fast and fearlessly. We're out.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, Powerful Stories, 180 Seconds.